doing? Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms here coming to you live from the Purple Sparkles studio in Mesa, Arizona. Hope you're all having a super fantastic sparkling start to your Tune-Up Tuesday. Woohoo! It's a little on the cold side today. Yeah, we woke up. It was it was still in the 50s inside the RV, but outside it was in the 40s. It is now, what would I let's see, 53 degrees, which for my Kiwi folks is 12 degrees centigrade. But it's meant to get a high of 66 today, which is 19 degrees centigrade. So, and we've got a blustery northerly coming, which means it's hitting the passenger side of Sparkles. And that's the side the awning is on. So the awning is wound in today because we are going to be getting some strong winds coming at the awning. And so I just wound it in for safety reasons. But it's cold out there. I even have a switch. I've got to hang on. What happened there? All right, I don't know what happened there, but it came out asking me in the video. I even have, not only do I have a long sleeve shirt on, I also have a sweatshirt on. It's cool. I have not turned the heat on in the RV yet, but I will probably do that today because the temperature's coming up for overnight temperature. Overnight temperatures are meant to drop below into the 40s, and as much as I love sleeping in the cold, I got to think of Zeffie, and and she's not going to be happy when I take the weighted blanket, which is folded up on the bed, and she likes to sleep on it, and spread it over the bed for tonight. So, but yeah, if the temperature in the RV drops below 55, then I like the heat to come on just to take the chill out of the air a little bit. But anyway, it's a nice brisk, refreshing morning. I had my Stetson on this morning because it was cold outside and I needed something hot cold on my head. But I figured after being out there and getting the cold wind, because for those of you who live below in the southern hemisphere, the north side winds are like the southerlies in the south. Um, so just to give you some context. And when I was out there, I could feel the cold wind going into my ears, which causes me issues because it can start ear infections for me, which leads to vertigo. So I have to be very careful. So I've got to make sure I can find my hat that comes down over my ears because my Stetson doesn't cover my ears. But it felt good having the Stetson on. It did. Walking around with my Stetson on, it was good. I looked the part of my black jacket on, had my dark shades on, I had my black hat on. Oh, hello, little one. Did you want to come say hello in the purple studio? Look at that cute little face. Oh, that's one thing I got to. This was hilarious this morning. So I was after the shower. I was getting dressed, and I could hear this weird like humming noise. I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, it sounds like somebody's humming inside the RV. I come out. Zeffie's up on her bed behind the curtain, looking out the window, and even though she was whining, it sounded like she was humming. I'm like, seriously? It did. It sounded like a hum, and it had a little melody to it, and I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, she's now getting into humming. I'm still waiting for the day when she opens her mouth and a word comes out. It's going to shock the crap out of me. But anyway, but we've been out for our beautiful walk on a brisk morning. It was awesome being out there. The sun was down on us, but it wasn't a hot sun because we had the cold wind coming in. It was fantastic. I absolutely loved it outside this morning. So today is Tune Up Tuesday. It's all about doing those little fine tweaks in life, doing those little fine tweaks in our business processes and procedures, as well as doing dancing to tunes. So today's tune up for tunes, our tuning tune ups. Yes. So for music today, let's do some rock and roll. I don't know. I just came up with rock and roll hit me today. So it's going to be a rock and roll kind of day. And you can go to rock and roll from the 50s, from the 60s. You can do some classics. You can do some more modern rock and roll. Zippy put her 2 cents in worth there. She's a little upset with me because I wouldn't sit outside this morning. It was cold outside this morning. It was 47 degrees when we went for a walk this morning. For New Zealand, for you Kiwis, that's in the single digits. With a northerly coming through, which is like a southerly. Okay, so today we're going to be reading from Think Positive, Live Chicken Soup for the Soul, Think Positive, Live Happy. This story I like simply because it's all about taking a step forward. It's doing that forward momentum thing. So it's called Simple Courage, and there's a quote here from Winston Churchill that says, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, It is the courage to continue that counts. Shuffle that one. Come back for that one later. Okay, so it's called Simple Courage. Chaperoning a group of teens at our state's annual youth convention kept me busy, so I looked forward to free time one afternoon when we would all unwind by doing crafts. That's where I first noticed Jenny checking out the available projects. It was hard not to notice her as she walked about the room with the other teens, her limbs jerked unpredictably. Even when she tried to stand still, muscle spasms seized an arm and threw it into the air or wrenched her head to the side. Kids would glance up in surprise, then look away quickly. My heart ached to see how cerebral palsy had affected her life. Got a brother with cerebral palsy. Before long, Jenny settled on a wood-burning project and began gathering her supplies. Since I was never good at artistic endeavors, it didn't matter much which craft I chose. So I sat across from her. I picked up a thin plank of wood and penciled my last name on it with a little flower in the corner. That was the extent of my creative abilities. Meanwhile, Jenny sketched intently on her plaque. Soon a handsome cardinal sat on a branch surrounded by dogwood blooms. Pretty, I said. She smiled. I picked up the hot wood burning tool to begin. How would Jenny complete the project without burning herself? She didn't. I winced each time her spastic movements elicited another ouch. But under Jenny's hands, a beautiful design took shape. Dutifully searing my name into a piece of wood, I struck up a conversation. What country are you from? Or what county are you from? Pontotoc. Even her voice quivered with the effects of her disorder. That's not too far from us. What project are you in? Clothing. Oh, do you sew? I marveled that she could control her hands enough to do such intricate work. Her bright eyes looked me straight into mine. I sew some, but I'm here to compete in the clothing section contest. We coordinate outfits from clothes we buy at the store. I'll model my outfit this evening at the General Assembly. Model? The night before, some of the youth had made rude noises and hurled insults at talented contestant participants. She was going in front of the group. They would eat her alive. I gave her my best encouraging smile. I'll watch for you. Later that day, I entered the auditorium with trepidation, remembering Jenny. After everyone sat down, the lights dimmed, and the clothing selection contest. After everyone sat down, the lights dimmed, and the clothing selection contestants lined up on stage. I could pick out Jenny even at the distance. She stood in a model's pose, just like all the other girls, but occasionally her head or arms twitched unabidden. When it came time for Jenny to walk the runway, I held my breath. The teams had clapped politely for the other contestants, but what would they do when Jenny lurched across the stage? A burned finger might be pleasant compared to this. I felt as nervous as if it were one of mouth and eyes not coordinating properly today. I felt as nervous as if I were the one appearing in front of all those people with so little control over my body. Would I ever have found the courage to do it? I closed my eyes and prayed as my new friend took her first steps in front of 600 kids. For a moment there was dead silence. Then the entire audience broke into thunderous applause. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I clapped too. Cerebral palsy may have controlled Jenny's movements, but it didn't control her life. With quiet courage, she demonstrated what she could accomplish with a positive attitude. Drawing, sewing, modeling, no problem. All she had to do was try. Whether her body cooperated or not, Jenny was determined to be happy doing the things she loved. From that day on, I stopped thinking about what I couldn't do and focused on what I could. Following Jenny's examples, I've walked a few runways I wouldn't normally have attempted and found happiness waiting at the end. Sometimes courage is putting one foot in front of the other. And that's from Tracy Crump. I like this story because it's all about getting out there and doing it no matter what the consequences, no matter how you're feeling about it, just start. Like yesterday, we talked about just start. This is another one of those things, just start. To find the courage somewhere to get out there and do what you need to do to move ahead. The cerebral palsy thing, I have a brother who has a cerebral palsy. He doesn't have the twitches though. His is pretty mild in comparison to some. It's definitely in his speech because I have to remind him to slow down and enunciate so I can understand him. But then he's got that baritone, or he's got that tone of voice that I have difficulty hearing as well. Um, so it's really important. And then when I haven't seen him for a while, his Kiwi accent is so thick. It takes me a bit to tune into it. But then I also when I coached gymnastics, I had a girl who had cerebral palsy, and there were some things she could do and some things that she couldn't do. But I would get her to push her limits a little bit. And that's when I first came up, when the kids, she was the first one that told me, I can't do that. And I looked at her and said, there's no such word. Um, and so I would push her into taking that step forward and giving it a go. I said, look, I said, you've never done this before, have you? And she's like, no. I said, then how do you know if you can't do it? And that would just stop her in her tracks. And then she would go ahead and attempt it. But I always watched her very, very closely, because when she was on the bar, it was on her left side, and her hand kind of went like this. It could curl some around the bar, but if I saw her fingers starting to do this, I knew I needed to grab her real quick, because she would fall if I didn't. So I learned her body's limits, and I learned the signs that I knew I needed to catch her so that she didn't fall. But she built up a lot of confidence in that class, because she got to do some things that she never thought she could do. So unless you try something, how do you know that you cannot do it? People turn and say, "Oh, I can't do that," because can't is not a word. Take it out of the vocab. That's your tune up for the day. Remove can't. Take that step forward. How do you know you can't do something if you don't give it a go? So, what are your limitations? Oh, I'm no good on the phone. Have you got on the phone and tried to talk to somebody? Have you gotten on the phone and done whatever task it is you need to? No. Then how do you know that you cannot do it? Take the courage. Just take that step forward. That's your tune up for today, is to take that step forward. Take that first step. Find something that you're afraid to do, or that you don't think you can do, and take that step forward to get it done. Sometimes we fail, and that's okay. It's not fatal. Failure is not fatal. Was it Winston Churchill said at the beginning of this thing? I'm going to go back here. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So find your courage, tune it up today, get out there, listen to some great tunes. We're going for a rock and roll theme today. So what rock and roll tunes are you going to listen to today? Get out there, just make a few tweaks on things. I'm going to be doing some things for the first time today. Does it terrify me? Absolutely. Am I going to fail? Probably. Is it going to bother me? Maybe. But I know I'm taking that step forward. It's a step forward to getting goals and dreams, because you can't achieve your goals and dreams unless you take that first step. So go out there, have a super fantastic, sparkling, fun tune-up Tuesday, and we will catch you guys later this evening. Heck on it.